friends and fans. Can't help myself. I really love you all. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But of course, I'm going to annoy, probably even anger some of you today by pointing out a very big irony. And we'll get to that more later. But the irony is, ta-da, well, Russia does not want Europe to place nuclear weapons in Ukraine. They want Ukraine to return to neutrality. But of course, Iran is just engaged in peaceful research, right? Everybody is talking, but nobody is. And we see this time and time again. Liberals will go, oh, those MAGA hats, they're lying, always lying. It's all we see around the world today. Europe talking about, a great relationship with America as they stuff tariff after tariff. And as Trump says, well, I'm going to retaliate, they have a hissy fit and start calling him all the names under the sun. And the ever-pleasant, tolerant Liberals are nowhere to be found. They're all screeching, they're not screeching about the free market. No, they're screeching about how Trump is ruining everything for them. So, this is why we can't have nice things. Now, I am trying to bring things to you from a Red Pill's perspective. The core philosophy of Red Pill is primarily to be truthful in all dealings. And if otherwise, you can't be trusted. And once someone's dishonest, you see the decline in relationships today. All because they're not based on respect or trust. They're based on what she can get off you. And increasingly, this is what relationships with Europe or the UN, all these people who want reparations. Well, start with your own crimes. Start with your 400 years of attacks on Europe. Start with your own crimes against your own people. I am so sick, and I'm so sick and tired, but I am not going to stop. I'm going to double my efforts. I know, because I'm not advertising friendly, I'm not going to get the million viewers. I'm not going to get the tens of thousands. I'm not going to get my channel recommended to lots of people. I don't sell lollipops and Fruit Loops like Mr. Beast and get you stuffed full of chocolate. We don't have a merit-based society. We have a highly manipulated society. And as a result, we're finding it difficult. We're reaching the same terminal velocity of Europe of the early 1900s, where people thought, we're so enlightened, we're so liberal. And then suddenly, Germany, get out of Serbia. Why? Because it's our business now. Now, you could say that about America and Iran. You could say that about Russia and Ukraine. It is all the same thing. Either if you cannot accept, right, that your so-called mandate of peace is all based on a lie, and that lie is you only want peace when it suits you, right? It's like you have rules. If the Strait of Hormuz is international waterways, right, and all these Gulf countries can't protect themselves from Iran, then why can't the people of Donbass ask Russia to protect them? Just like Serbia asked Germany to protect them. But suddenly Britain and France said, no, you can't. Once you are honest, can you honestly say that World War One, you listen to the socialists and they go, well, it was the Bankers' War. No, it was the Socialist War. It was the French socialists. And had the British socialists not raced in behind them, Germany would have beaten France, and the British would have gone, no, we can't have Germany get better. They wouldn't have dominated France. You could have got them out. All these people want peace until it doesn't suit them anymore. You look at it. All these people who support Ukraine, none of them support peace, yet Trump's the war maker. Europe wants America to solve the Ukraine problem. And as soon as they solve it, they said, no, we meant you do what we say. You're not allowed to think for yourself anymore in this world. It's always someone who's wearing a big chip on their shoulder saying, no, I have to complain until I get my way. And what happens when they get their way? They're complaining anyway. It's like an episode of Tucker Carlson. Everywhere you go. We can't have nice things. Because it's either Israel or America's fault. Or the never-ending complaints about Russia by Europeans. Fix your own backyard. You got lots of problems. But when a country has lots of problems, does it fix them? Or does it distract you because it doesn't want to solve them? And you could say that about Iran too. But ultimately, it's up to you to decide. And right now, the majority support the Iran war. Right now, only 48% of people support the Ukraine war. And Ukraine is wasting manpower and lives to take territory. Well, it could have stopped all this. But this territory here is full of people who fought against, right? You forget, what is this red line? That is where the war started in 2022. That's where the war, there's a bigger red line, start right through here, where Ukrainian forces, mostly militias in these big cities, were attacking the people of Lugansk and Donetsk, right? Militias out of Mariupol, Nikolaev and Odessa were attacking the ethnic Russians to drive them out and taking their houses, burning down their churches, looting. Right? There were crimes against humanity, and when they were reported on France 24, how did the people of France respond? By shutting down the journalists investigating the crimes in Ukraine, because you wanted Ukraine to join the EU. So what do liberals do? Do they clean up Ukraine? No! They ignore the corruption like they ignore the corruption in California, Minnesota, New York, Chicago, Baltimore, Minnesota. Why? Because the corrupt because the corrupt vote and the soft on crime people vote, and all the pity party people vote for the softies, for the do nothings, for the people who are going to hand out lots of milk and honey and promise you cream in every coffee. So you can't have nice things because Zelensky wants his way, and he has to have his way because he's Zelensky. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But, now, despite the plethora of weapons, and new weapons in particular, that Russia has brought to bear, they have not been able to shift the war. And I'll give you an example of what, on paper, seems like, well, this should have made an effect, and yet we've yet to see it. Now, Russia is beginning its, probing to begin its spring offensive, and maybe then we'll see what these new weapons will bring. Around 10,000 pieces of extra, right? On top of the 137,000 extra. Last year, they've increased appropriations by over 10,000 items. Now, as you can see, there are, Russia effectively is pushing Ukrainians out. They're slowly advancing in this area. Now, reports have them still only in Fedruka and Velenitska making small headways. Now, checking around the map, the battle map of Ukraine, which there's pushing in Sumy, Kharkiv, Kupiansk, trying to push out from Federica, Lyman, Kreveshy, and they're trying to push on Kromovskia from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions. They're pushing in above Rodny, Roninsky, and Roninsky itself, and south, and more. So, so they're pushing here and here, pushing out here, trying to push out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm trying to push out here. They have pushed out a little bit here, not much. They're trying to push out around and take Vilny. As you can see, they're increased territory in part. Trying to push out here. Actually push up and push up. Pushing up. They're trying to, and they are making headways. Now, obviously, pushing up here. As you can see, they've increased territory here. So some of the Ukraine reports are missing, obviously, because the updates are actually from previous days' advances. The Ukrainians the Ukrainians took some territory here, not much, but they're claiming they've liberated all of this. Now, Russia's pushing back and pushing back here, and they're pushing back here. As you can see, they've taken a little bit here and there, but still the main part, they've been unable to close the gap here. And as you can see, they've hit a lot of places. Now, almost this part of the front is quiet. As you can see, drones and missiles. Now, on paper, long-range glide bombs should have made a big difference, being able to hit targets. But while they have decreased the losses of aircraft for the Russians, they have not made any major impact. They have probably, because for every drone factory they hit, Europe has been able to replace. And more Ukrainian production is moving out of Ukraine. And more ammunition is moving in smaller amounts in civilian cars all across Ukraine every day. So if you get hit It's only a couple of crates as opposed to a large truckload. But they do need large truckloads. They're just moving in. They're just constantly moving. And Russia can't hit them all. So Russia's prioritizing its targets. Now, this is a rocket glide bomb. And as you can see there. So, yeah, the bomb glides. And, yeah, they are hitting. There we go. Yeah, so they're hitting targets across Ukraine, industrial targets. And they are now increasingly looking for depots where vehicles go to park, right? Trying to hit the Ukrainian vehicles and cripple their supply lines. Now, Russia has launched larger attacks in the past. Now, if they've used 442 UAVs and some kids' hours, it means, now, style, not the Russians call them something else now. They don't call them Shihad drones anymore because they're not from Iran. These are new Russian-made UAVs. So if they got 380 through, they calculate how many they can think they can get through, and they obviously hit 7 locations, and other locations were in other areas, and 14 locations were hit by falling debris. But as of this morning, the attacks are ongoing, so there's still more drones yet to come. Now, the focus of Russia's attack, and Russia has admitted this, has been Koz and Ivoka. And as you see, this is a Russian BTR, or infantry fighting vehicle. Pretty beat. It's taken a few hits. Its armoured skirt has taken a few hits. These are special mats that absorb impact and also reduce the cross-section of the vehicle, making it difficult to detect at long range. They're getting ready for operations. Now, they've engaged in combat and still engaged in combat in several positions. They have not been able to unseat the Ukrainians. Here we have various pictures of various BTR models. These go back to 2022 when the BMD-4M made its first appearance as an infantry airborne vehicle. These were deployed from Russian transports to be parachuted behind the front lines, part of Russia's what they called Rapid Deployment Division. But now increasingly airborne is just a nominal. Still they train, but they've hardly done airborne operations, and mostly they have been bogged down in Kolovoskia for some months now. Iran's war is Ukraine's war in reverse. We need nukes as a security guarantee. Remember, this is all about, and the British Prime Minister has said, putting missiles 6 minutes to Moscow so that we can put pressure on Vladimir Putin to make him do what we want. That is not democracy! This allegedly comes from an interview with Zelensky with a French newspaper. People will say it's Russian disinformation without checking. I want to see how many of you fools keep falling for the delusion that everything you don't like is disinformation. Zelensky has lashed out at Ukraine's critics. Of course he has, because he takes it personally. This is a 203mm more. Is it 203? No, this is a new 153 long barrel, basically. Russia has entered and held Brufskova in Donetsk. Yet another advance on the map, not marked off by Ukraine. Yeah. Yes. Just like, today and tomorrow, today, there's no feed from the Ukrainian military. So I can't tell you what's happened. They stopped early this morning and haven't updated their site. Now, their site is actually in Canada, according to web search. So, make it of you will. Probably haven't paid the bills. Or they're taking the day off because they're only volunteers. Who knows? But there's actually a little bit. The map's updated, which is why I'm confused, because the story updates haven't. None of the stories have updated from yesterday on the Ukrainian news site. But above Kupiansk, the Russians have made advances. So here, this area in here, Russians made advances in this area. And in this area. So they're above Kupiansk. Whether they're there tomorrow, who knows? Ukrainians are desperate to hold on to the positions they're in. Now, there was no reported, and yet I've seen many times again reports of I see YouTubers claiming that Ukraine is making advances. Well, the feed that they're using is telling me there's no advances. And Ukraine Pravda has none. Russia attacks. There's no Ukrainian offensive. Yet people keep falling. Hundreds of thousands every day keep falling for the same YouTubers. Again, we do not live in a meritocracy, truth-based world anymore. Increasingly, people want to be told lies to be comforted. Eventually, your delusions break. If you cannot deal honestly with the world, the way the world is, you're in for a hard fall. And I have no sympathy for these. They just think the money's worth it. Now, according to Social Blade, they're only making $300 to $400 a month. Most likely, they're making a lot more than that. Being paid by Ukraine apparently is quite lucrative, about $7,000 a month, according to the various rumors going around. Same with Israel. Apparently, they're all paid by the same. It's the same with these paid protesters. These Harry Sisson and all these. They're paid by the same group, Open Society around, or the Endowment for Democracy. They apparently, pay these influencers. So you can understand why social media is allegedly on a precipice right now. People are going to fall off and not treat anything. They're going to treat the news like it's all from China. Perhaps you know, more and more people will just leave YouTube. I don't know. So far, it's been small. It has been insignificant. But it can change. I mean, look what happened to Netflix. Look at Disney. Who the hell? In 3 years, they went from being the most popular to the most despised. So, don't assume YouTube's safe, or your YouTube channel's safe, or your career is safe. You know, what happens to all these Ukrainian lies when the war ends? You know, so what they're doing now, no, who's going to trust them after this, especially if Russia wins, which I doubt. It's going to be some sort of situation. Now, I know Europe is hoping they can get the same situation like in Germany, where, you know, they wear down the Russians and eventually the Russians will withdraw. I don't think so this time. I don't think Russia's going to fall for it again. I think Russia's hardened. And it may be a long time before we get to the point where perhaps it might be Europe the one who has to accept that Russia's taken back its territory that was illegally given away to a country who didn't take care of the people. And again, we wouldn't have a Ukraine war if it wasn't for the pretentious snobs in Europe who boycotted the elections. You know, your morality is worthless because you didn't do your job. So thank you all for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Please support the channel and support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy merch. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video and bye for now.